I'm gonna be a little naked here and talk about something I've struggled with on stage. And as Garyvee, and if you follow my content, this will blow your mind. I'm great at candor, right? I can be very candorous here in the Q&A. I'm about to be very candorous. I'm candorous in this. I'm very candorous as a character on Instagram. You know, my content, I mean, just look, let me just see what I've posted recently. Like this school, you know, this school video, I'm very, very candorous. I'm very, 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 very candorous, you know, as you can tell, and potty mouth and jerseyed out. But as a manager of people, I so struggled with delivering bad news that I danced. I was a little full of shit, to be frank. I couldn't deliver the, hey Rick, you suck at your job, let's fix this or this or that. I would dance, I would try to pep up, I would be pep rally, but I wouldn't be candorous. And then what would happen is I'd eventually be fed up and I would fire Rick, and he'd be stunned because a week ago I'm like, go Rick, go, R-I-C-K, Rick. And then I'm like, and then on Friday, on Tuesday, I'm cheerleading squad. And on Friday, I'm like, Rick, we gotta let you go. And Rick would be like, what? And I would always be anxious, and I realize now why, because I didn't set it up. I wasn't candorous enough. So one of my key tenets, ingredients to leadership is kind candor. I think people use candor as an excuse to be mean and to rear their insecurities and talk down to people. And so I don't love that. And which is why I call it kind candor, not candor. You have to be able to deliver feedback to people, and you need to be kind about it. For example, one of the things I would say, look, Sally, in my opinion, and you know, and I use this, unfortunately, this company is mine, and it's my responsibility, unfortunately, to make a subjective call. From what I've seen and what I feel, unfortunately, I don't feel like you're very strong at this, and we need to talk about it. So you're hedging the candor with kindness. You know, Rick, you're just a pleasure in this office. You're bringing so much value to the office culture. You know, I'm getting some complaints from the clients that you're missing some T's and missing some dotting of I's. We need to talk about this, because if that keeps happening, it's gonna be vulnerability. You should maybe not be an account person. Maybe you want to be an HR, or maybe you want to do something like kind candor. Kind candor really matters. I used to use stunning people, then big severances, then, you know, feeling bad and like overextending myself after I would fire them. All bad behavior, all because I wasn't able to be candorous. It was a huge, huge leadership flaw of mine. And it's the one that I'm most building up right now that I'm proud of. And so kind candor, I think, is another thing that a lot of people here have to talk about. I also think humility, just for a few minutes before we go into Q&A. You know, I've been very fortunate in my career. I really have. I've had a lot of accolades. You start Googling me now if you don't know, there's a lot of winning stuff out there. But having the ambition to be all time, and equally in your body knowing you don't mean shit, is a huge thing and a huge, huge factor to leadership. I definitely believe that more people in my company buy into me because of my humility, which is, again, I would argue my humility and my inability to have candor are the two things my content is least capable of communicating, but are two foundational things that have impacted my leadership. One, negatively, lack of candor. Now, in the last 18 months, it's exploded my kind candor, and it's really helped my company. And B, humility. Like, you know, I only think I'm as good as my last at bat. So just because I invested in Facebook and Twitter and Uber and Pinterest and Snapchat and Coinbase and Venmo and had this great investing career, my next investment tomorrow might suck and could really hurt me. You know, just because I have built this $200 million plus company, VaynerX, you know, in revenue from zero, doesn't mean tomorrow that it can't go down to 87 if I get high on my own supply and think I'm a tough guy and think I'm so great and think I'm Garyvee. Humility is incredibly important, and people smell it on you. And I think a lot of you could have a lot more success if you didn't need to take credit for everything that your team's doing. Humility really matters, and I think it really rears its head, and I highly recommend you get into an honest place. The best way to push somebody above their own means is to guilt them into it. And I know that's a weird kind of answer, but it is my honest belief that the thing that drives, first of all, everybody's driven by different things. So the real answer to your question is to use your ear, right? D-Rock, zoom in to my ear, right? You know, the ear is the key in this scenario, because the truth is, the way to push somebody above their limits is to actually have individual conversations with them about what is their holy, you know, grail, right? Like, what do they want to accomplish? Like India and I have a good feel of some of India's long-term career ambitions. And like, that gives me, first of all, her knowing that we've even had that conversation in and itself gives her a little bit more confidence to work harder, because she's trying to get what she wants out of it professionally, and knowing that I'm the person that can most likely make that happen, at least in the context of this world, that just even having the conversation puts her in a better spot. But some people are literally rawly driven by straight cash. Like truly, like you want to push somebody, like you carrot, like, hey, I know you love cash, I'll give you 10,000 more if you like, you know, like, and so you've got to find out what makes people tick. I'm so not motivated by cash that so many people try to get me to do things, JV with me, invest in things, do things, speak at things, because they think cash is the way to do it. And listen, I love the cash, but it's not my biggest driver, and I make a lot of decisions based on legacy, long-term impact on myself, by the way, not like long-term global impact. You know, that's not how I think. I mean, I think there's a byproduct of that, but that's not the number one thing for me. But to answer the question in a general form, I truly do believe the best way to get that is to guilt. And what I mean by guilt, it's a variation of listening, which is not only listening, but delivering in a world where so few people even begin to listen, let alone delivering on that listening. And once you start doing that, people start realizing, let me tell you what's happening at Vayner. It's not super confusing. I know exactly what's going on in this company. It's starting to get old enough that there's enough things happening for enough people that it's really easy to point to Phil Toronto or to somebody else and be like, wait a minute, or Steve Unwin. Like, you can start pointing to, oh crap, that person wanted that person's getting that person's happy as crap, I want that. And so it's listening and then delivering, which then creates a scenario where people want to over-deliver, because the only way somebody will over-deliver for you, because you asked a very selfish question, how can I get my team to over-deliver for me? For my thing, it's very simple. The best way to get them to over-deliver, John?
Jack, if that's a substitute.
No, Jack is not a substitute. Okay. I know where you're thinking, but like, no, that is not a substitute.
Okay, we're on the 100.
And you know, the only way to get somebody to over-deliver is to attack their own selfishness, theirs. You're selfish because you want more out of your team to help you. Well, the best way to get that to happen is to over-deliver against their selfishness. I do believe that guilt is a huge driver, because there's something that I believe in human beings. I mean, some people don't have self-awareness or empathy or these emotional feelings, but so many people, like, it's amazing to me now living 20 years professionally, like how many people are not confused eventually. They may be emotional at the time you fire them or not reward them, but boy, every time I run into somebody 4, 7, 9 years down the line, I've had a very good track record of them saying, yeah, I know why you did that, or I mean, like crazy stuff, like I had a drug problem. I mean, like there's like, you know, stuff, life, right? So I would answer your question like I have before on this show, and if you haven't heard me say it, I'll say it again. The single best way to win is to give 51% of the relationship. If there was a jury of 500 people, that they would all agree that you've given 51% to the relationship, and you have to be good enough to know what to do with the other 49. Self-awareness. Yeah, you know, it took me being self-aware, challenging myself, willing to be honest with myself that, hey, Gary, you think you're so great and you're so nice and you're so successful. This candor thing's a problem, and it took pain. It took people not liking me, which makes no sense because my intent is through the roof. I'm like so lucky and so well parented that I love people. I don't need nothing from nobody. I'm on my own 2 feet. I don't need anything, and not emotionally, not financially, and yet I still had these individuals who were miffed and would talk shit about me, and I was like, God damn it, it's that candor. So self-awareness, you've got to really, really deploy that. Let me leave you with this sentence and we'll go right into Q&A. Every strength and every weakness you have as a leader, you're tricking no one. They know. Your employees know. Your customers know. Your employees know. And if they don't know, they themselves don't have good emotional intelligence. And I always said to my friends, you'd rather win with winners than win with losers, right? And so like, if you're tricking people that don't know, your employees are also insecure and this is like an unhealthy relationship, cool, but you're just building an ecosystem that's gonna be small. And more importantly, if somebody is emotionally intelligent, both on your customer side or your employee side, they're gonna see right through you. So see right through yourself first. I always say, I'd rather put myself out of business than have somebody else do it. You know, I got ahead of it and had a very heart-to-heart conversation with my company and said, look, I'm lacking candor and that's why we're B-. We should be A+ culture because of what my intent is. I can make money elsewhere. I don't make decisions on every dollar. I'm a good guy. I want legacy, not currency. I got all this going for me, but we're B-. That was because of this lack of candor. I'm standing up this thing called kind candor. So everybody who's in here, who's a little bit of a jerk, this doesn't mean you're gonna be able to get to be a jerk. This is gonna mean that we're gonna be more candorous with each other, and it's really changed my company.